Hiring a CRM admin. Best practices for roles in 2025. Why a CRM admin hire is a revenue decision in 2025. If you have ever sat in a pipeline review and realized nobody trusts the numbers, you are in familiar territory. Even with modern CRM platforms, research still shows 20 to 70% of CRM projects fail or underperform, and the root causes are usually adoption, weak integrations, and messy data rather than the software itself. A dedicated CRM admin is the practical fix for those failure modes because they own the day-to-day systems work that determines whether the CRM reflects reality. This matters more in 2025 because outbound is less forgiving. Whether you run an internal SDR team or an outsourced sales team, cold calling services and cold email agency-style programs only work when the handoffs, statuses, and follow-up tasks are clean and consistent. When the CRM is slow or confusing, reps compensate with spreadsheets, Slack notes, and "I'll update it later." And that is how pipeline visibility collapses. At SalesHive, we treat CRM administration as part of the revenue engine, not a back-office chore. The best admins sit at the intersection of process and platform. They turn messy SDR and AE workflows into automation, governance, and reporting that makes meetings easier to book and opportunities easier to advance. The real cost of low adoption and manual CRM work. CRM underuse is still the norm, not the exception. Recent research reports only about 34% of teams fully embrace and effectively use their CRM, and most organizations use less than half of the features they are paying for. That gap is not missed potential in theory. It shows up as slower speed to lead, inconsistent follow-up, and reporting that leadership stops believing. Manual work is the clearest symptom. Roughly 32% of sales reps spend an hour or more every day on manual data entry, which is time they could spend prospecting, running discovery calls, or following up on warm replies. A strong CRM admin earns their keep quickly by removing that friction through activity capture, validation rules that prevent bad inputs, and automation that creates the right next task without rep babysitting. The data problem is also bigger than inconvenience. One HubSpot reported study found 34% of businesses have already lost revenue due to fragmented customer data, and 92% say their most valuable insights live outside the CRM in spreadsheets or chats. If your outbound sales agency motion is generating touches at scale, but the CRM cannot reliably connect activity to outcomes, you are optimizing blind. Define the role like a revenue charter, not a helpdesk queue. Before you post a job description, we recommend writing a one-page charter that ties the CRM admin role directly to pipeline KPIs. Instead of build reports or add fields, define outcomes like reduced rep data entry time, faster lead routing, higher activity capture rates, and more consistent stage and status hygiene. This reframes the role as a revenue multiplier and also gives you cleaner interview signals because strong candidates will naturally ask how your funnel works. Scope is where most teams get it wrong. You can teach a candidate platform mechanics, but you cannot quickly teach process thinking, stakeholder management, and the ability to translate SDR reality into rules, fields, automations, and permissions. We look for admins who can describe lead routing, qualification paths, and outbound workflows in plain language, then explain exactly how they would implement those workflows in Salesforce, HubSpot, or whichever CRM is your source of truth. When you budget, use benchmarks that scale with headcount and complexity, not vibes. Many teams land on roughly one RevOps or CRM operations headcount for every 10 to 15 sellers, and a realistic U.S. salary benchmark for a Salesforce administrator sits around $90,052 annually, depending on level and market. To make planning easier, here is a practical way to frame coverage and cost as your team grows. How to interview. Test for process, then validate platform skill. A CRM admin who knows Salesforce but cannot describe your funnel will build a technically correct system that reps hate. In interviews, start with scenarios that force process clarity, how they would route leads by territory, what fields must be required at each stage, and how they would ensure an SDR can find the next best call in one view. The goal is to see whether they understand how revenue teams actually work under pressure, not whether they can memorize menus. We also recommend a simple, practical exercise for finalists. Give them a short prompt, your lead sources, your segments, your current pain points, and ask them to outline a routing approach, a basic SDR dashboard, and a data validation strategy. You are looking for judgment and communication. Can they push back on bad requirements, simplify rather than complicate, and explain trade-offs to non-technical stakeholders? Finally, make reporting lines explicit during hiring. The healthiest pattern is having the CRM admin report into RevOps or sales leadership with a roadmap tied to adoption and pipeline outcomes, rather than being buried under generic IT. That alignment is what keeps them focused on meeting volume, conversion rates, and forecast reliability, instead of becoming a ticket taker. If your CRM admin cannot directly connect their backlog to meetings booked, faster follow-up, and cleaner pipeline, you are hiring for activity instead of impact. Onboard for traction, 30, 60, 90 days, a visible backlog, and clear SLAs. Most CRM admin hires fail because the onboarding is vague. In the first 30 days, the admin should do structured discovery, shadow SDRs and AEs, sit in pipeline reviews, and map your workflow end-to-end from lead creation to closed won. This prevents the common mistake of building in a vacuum, where requirements are filtered through managers and the real friction never gets fixed. By day 60, prioritize fundamentals that unlock adoption: field cleanup, standardized pick lists, duplicate controls, and activity capture that reduces rep admin work. This is also where governance starts. Define what can change, who approves it, and how you document it, so you do not end up with a Frankenstein CRM that no one can report from. When teams skip governance and let everyone customize freely, reporting becomes unreliable and the CRM becomes harder to use every month. By day 90, the admin should own a quarterly roadmap and a visible intake process with SLAs, so the business stops relying on random Slack requests. A backlog and SLA framework protects time for high-impact projects while still handling urgent fixes, and it gives leadership clarity on what is coming when. This is the difference between an admin who ships measurable improvements and one who spends all quarter building one-off reports. Common mistakes that block ROI and how to avoid them. The first mistake is hiring a generalist IT admin instead of a sales-focused CRM admin. IT-first thinking optimizes for uptime and security, but outbound teams need fast routing, clean statuses, and workflows that match how SDRs actually prospect. If your team is running B2B cold calling services or coordinating a cold calling team across time zones, the admin must understand queue design, dispositions, and follow-up timing at a practical level. The second mistake is treating the admin like a form builder and report jockey. When you only feed them ad hoc requests, they never get to solve root problems like data debt, broken handoffs, and automation gaps that create rep drag. This is especially costly when fragmented data is already a known revenue risk, and broader research estimates poor data quality costs organizations about $13.3 million per year on average. The third mistake is waiting too long to hire. Once you hit thousands of records and a steady outbound volume, cleanup becomes expensive and slow, and it can bottleneck growth right when you are trying to scale. A practical rule is to plan part-time administration around 5 to 7 sellers and a dedicated resource by the time you reach the 10 to 15 seller range, especially if multiple tools and sequences are feeding the CRM daily. Make your CRM outbound-ready and partner-ready for 2025. If outbound is a core growth lever, your CRM admin must treat integrations as a first-class responsibility. Dialers, email sequencing, enrichment, LinkedIn outreach services, and list building services all create activity that should land cleanly in the CRM with consistent fields and statuses. Without that structure, you cannot attribute meetings correctly, you cannot identify which segments convert, and you cannot confidently scale what works. This is where working with an SDR agency or a B2B sales agency can either amplify results or expose gaps. When you outsource sales or add a sales outsourcing partner, the admin should own the integration design and reporting schema so every call, email, and meeting is captured, routed, and reported in one trusted system. At SalesHive, we build our campaigns to integrate cleanly with major CRMs, which gives your admin structured activity data that is easier to govern and analyze across cold call services and email outreach. Operationally, we recommend giving your CRM admin a seat in weekly outbound stand-ups and pipeline reviews. They should hear objections, list quality complaints, and hand off issues in real time, then turn those insights into better routing rules, cleaner views, and faster follow-up automations. That tight feedback loop is how an outbound sales agency motion stays measurable instead of turning into disconnected activity. Scale, automation, and AI. Build the foundation before chasing the shiny layer. Automation should start with removing manual work from reps, not adding complexity. When the CRM is configured well, you can automate enrichment, task creation, activity logging, and structured disposition tracking, so SDRs spend more time talking to prospects and less time typing. This is where the CRM admin's impact becomes visible in output, because fewer clicks translate directly into more daily touches and cleaner follow-up. AI is the next layer, but it only works when your CRM is a reliable source of truth. If data is fragmented, AI-powered forecasting and next best action features often become expensive noise because the underlying records are incomplete or inconsistent. That is why we advise admins to lead with adoption and data quality first, then pilot AI once fields, stages, and activity capture are standardized and governed. The business case remains strong when execution is disciplined. CRM investments have been shown to return about $3.10 for every dollar spent, but that ROI assumes the system is implemented, adopted, and maintained properly. If you want that return in 2025, hire the admin with a revenue charter, protect their roadmap with a backlog and SLAs, and integrate them into the outbound engine so your CRM becomes a lever for meetings and pipeline instead of a tax on your team.